Welcome to the CurvaCast. I am Jay Gibson Trumbull, your host, and today is day 12 of the 12 days of January. Hopefully, you've been able to take in some, if not all, of this series. It is a labor of love for me and something that I truly believe has value and has definitely, made an impact on my life. I believe I mentioned it in one of the earlier episodes how the reason why I even decided to do it this year is because I felt I needed it. So instead of just, keeping it to myself, I do this series to share it with others and hopefully inspire them to add rituals, even if they're not the same months, but to inspire ideas about rituals they can add to their life that features small things that instantly make their lives feel better. So here we are, day 12. Of course, we're going to do a little review. Day 1, we talked about the time we get up, right? Are you waking up and ruining your own day? Now, when you phrase it that way, I think it sends a bigger signal to someone as opposed to just saying, well, what time do you get up? Are you getting up early enough? So I think if you ask yourself that question, it probably would be more beneficial to you creating a habit or changing some habits that you have related to the time that you get up and what you do when you get up. So, are you ruining your day when you get up? Next, day 2, we talked about flexibility and giving ourselves grace. That came out of me being super tired and not feeling like I did my best on day 2, but was being determined to do it anyway. So I did it. But I think it's really important for us to remind ourselves to give ourselves grace, okay? We have a lot of lifing at all times, right? So, as I mentioned, I don't think we should give ourselves 100% passes because then how effective and productive will we be? But I know for a fact that there are times when we are probably way too hard on ourselves and we'd probably give other people more chances and more grace than we give to ourselves. So it was a reminder to give yourself a little bit of grace, be a little bit more flexible with yourself. And then day 3, we talked about priorities and how we achieve the things that are important to us, using different tools and like, for example, I use the 3 things method, and now I've set up the reminders planner, essentially. I love it. I love it. I love it, guys. I'm really been loving this little reminders planner that I've created in my iPhone. Uh, can't do it on my iPad because my iPad is an older edition. But if you got a new one, you should be able to like set it up on your iPad as well. And I really, really, really love it. But we talked about those things, right? What's priority for us and how we go about making sure that we're able to achieve these priorities, like set the right tools, the right rituals, the right habits in place so that we can honor our priorities, right? Day 4 obviously was a part 2 essentially to day 3 because we talked about giving yourself what you need. Like for me, I knew there were things that I needed to give myself, like I needed to give myself more rest. And over the course of the years, I've found that I needed to give myself different kinds of scheduling. I know for a fact that I'm better in the morning than I am at night. So I need to honor that more, And so I think it's really important to ask ourselves on a regular basis, am I giving myself what I need? Forget what other people are doing and the things that are outside of myself. Am I giving myself what I need to have the life I want, to be productive, all the things, right? Day 5, we talked about if you're too busy for joy. And I'm a joy enthusiast. It is my thing, right? Joy and gratitude are my anchors. So no matter what's going on in my life, I always want to make sure that I am making room for joy for myself. Once again, not involving people outside of myself, but for myself. If it includes other people, that's great. But the whole goal is to remind yourself to make room to bring joy into your own life. And so, of course, for me, I went to a place that brings me so much joy. Like it never, ever fails to bring me joy. And So grateful for it. Day 6, we talked about checking in with yourself, right? Once again, life is lifing. So we need to make sure that we're always checking in with ourselves, seeing what kind of adjustments we need to make in our lives, seeing what kind of changes we might need to make in order to be more fulfilled, to be happier in our lives. Day 7, we talked about a great way to do that check in, which is journaling and the different ways that you could do that. Like now I'm using that book that I had bought last fall. Last fall it didn't work for me, but right now it is currently working for me. So I'm using that to do my 3 things in the morning, my 3 things at night, and then a little check in, to ask me how I'm feeling, what my wins were for the day at night. So I'm loving that. And once again, you don't need to have any kind of book or planner to do that. Pen and paper, your notes in your phone, whatever. Part of this whole series, too, is about small, simple things, things that don't cause you stress, but things that add value to your life, right? So we don't have to go out of our way to come up with the systems. The systems should be things that are easily maintained to add the value to our lives. And then, of course, day 8, we talked about the big one. I feel like it's a big one. Are you resting enough? I know for me, the past few weeks, the answer has been kind of no. I'm going to be honest. So I've had to adjust. So I realized, like I said, I'm a morning person more so than a nighttime person. So I did a little switcheroo when I started recording this podcast during the morning. Today, I'm recording it in the evening, early evening, not nearly as late as I had been. There's been some nights when I record, it's like 9, 10 o'clock. I believe it's probably around 6 or 7 right now. Last day, like I said, I've been here at the home chilling, so it's all good. I don't feel bad about it. But I had to honor the fact that this is how I work best, right? And I feel like that's how we get the most out of ourselves if we honor how we work best. And one of the things that assures that we work the best way that we can is if we are getting enough rest. Rest truly is vital. And I mentioned on that podcast about how I'm so grateful that people are recognizing that more, just how truly valuable it is that we make sure that we are giving to ourselves rest. And then on day 9, we talked about movement. It's another one of my gems. It's why I created meditation, movement, and vision, because movement, I know there's so much power in it. I know that it is healing. I know that just being outside, sometimes taking a walk, just breathing in the air, even on a cold night like it is here in Chicago, it snowed, it's chilly, it's cold. I know that being outside makes a huge difference in our lives. So I definitely want to encourage you, if it's not a part of your daily ritual, to add some movement. Once again, the goal is not to be stressed. It's not to feel like the things that we're adding are drudgeries. These are things to make our lives better. And then, of course, for day 10, we talked about the things that we might be denying ourselves, right? All of these things go hand in hand, right? If we're resting, if we're prioritizing things, if we're journaling and checking in with ourselves, we need to make sure that we're not denying ourselves the things too that will make our lives better, regardless of the outside influences. Once again, I think that's really important. I didn't talk about it as much during this series, but here I wanted to make sure we clarify, or that all of these things require us to set boundaries. Majority of us, live with other people, cohabitate with other people, and so a lot of times we will find that we have to set some boundaries, especially when we're bringing new things into our lives. So the people around us tend to be like, what? That's not how, yeah, but that's how we're doing it now. Like, we need to make sure we're setting these boundaries so that we can do these things for ourselves, these things that will make our lives better. And ultimately, honestly, when our lives are better, when we feel better about ourselves and our life, the people around us benefit as well. So if that's part of what you got to tell the folks for them to understand, you know, there you go. And also, yesterday, day 11, we talked about being of service. Obviously, that is a year round thing, but of course, a lot of things are going on in the world right now where being of service is everything, because so many people need you to be. But even if you're somewhere where there aren't natural disasters and just tragedies happening, there are still ways for you to be of service, because there's always people who need other people. And so here, day 12, the culmination of all these days, the thing I want to remind you is to show up for yourself. Ultimately, everything I shared was about that. It was about your sleep habits, being productive and having the tools and checking in with yourself and giving yourself movement and joy and things that you love. Ultimately, all of that was about showing up for yourself. So here, day 12, I want to remind you to show up for yourself in whatever ways you need to. And also, this is called the 12 Days of January, but I've mentioned it throughout that although we are focusing on these first 12 days, that was just because it was a cute little play on the 12, the song, the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, I just thought that was a cute little play to express our changing our habits, creating these routines, showing expressions of love to ourselves. But the goal behind the 12 days is to take the habits that we have started creating and continue them on. These are lifelong habits that we need to remind ourselves of, revisit, and hopefully create routines that make our lives better. But if you've made it this far, thank you so very much. Honestly, like I said, this is a labor of love for me. I did it for myself, but I also wanted to share it. So I hope you found it of value. And I am truly hopeful that as crazy as 2025 has started off, that this year will bring lots of joy for us and lots of opportunities to show up for ourselves in the best possible way. So thank you. 12 Days of January out.